Great. Thank you all for joining us for today's lunch chat, Nourish Kids and Support Learning with CACFP After School Meals and Snacks. We're so excited to be able to speak with you. We wanted to share a little bit of information first, and then we'll have some presenters to speak about their experience with CACFP, and we'll have some time for questions and answers. So please feel free to have your video on. This is a lunch chat. Feel free to eat while you're watching, or have your video off if you're more comfortable here. All right. And this lunch chat is being presented by Hunger Solutions New York and the New York State Network for Youth Success. I'll speak a little bit about us first and then turn it over to my co-host. So I'm Allie Leidy. I'm with the New York State Network for Youth Success. We are the statewide network for after school in the state of New York. We are also the affiliate for the National After School Association, the state lead for the National Girls Collaborative Project around gender equity in STEAM programming, and the backbone of the New York State Community Schools Network. You can sign up for our listservs. I'll put a link in the chat if you're not signed up already. We do have a Power of Three campaign. That's our policy campaign around after school, summer, and expanded learning. If you'd like to join us on that, we're active on Twitter at NYS Youth Success. Our website is networkforyouthsuccess.org, and we also have a lot of tips and activities that go up daily on our Facebook /Network for Youth Success. And just a little bit about what we do. We do host the School Age Care Credential, which is an education qualifier for folks looking to be a director in an after-school program without the education qualifiers for school-age childcare regulated programs. That's also a great way to enhance your work. We have after-school program accreditation in New York that is for the site level to certify high levels of quality. We also do statewide professional development. We do an annual conference and we do coaching. We have professional membership opportunities. So we do have official members as well. We create and maintain the quality self-assessment tool, which is a tool that's free for anyone to use, and it's actually required for a lot of folks that receive state and federal funding to look at the quality of their programs. And I mentioned already our Power of Three policy campaign, but we do a lot of work at the state and federal levels to increase access to high quality programs and services for youth by increasing funding and looking at regulations and services for after school programs. So that's a little bit about us. Again, I'll drop a link in the chat in a moment. And now I'd love to turn it over to Krista with Hunger Solutions New York.
Thank you so much, Allie, and thank you everybody for taking the time to join today. I am here from Hunger Solutions New York. We are a statewide anti-hunger organization, and our work focuses on maximizing the reach of federal nutrition assistance programs. So everything from SNAP and WIC to summer meals, school meals, and after school meals, of course, most recently the pandemic EBT program as well. We do this work through a combination of statewide outreach to spread the word about the programs. We provide technical assistance to school districts, to after-school programs, and CBOs looking to connect with the programs or feed more kids. And we also do a healthy amount of administrative and legislative advocacy for long-term improvements and investments to expand the reach of each of these federal nutrition programs. And so today we're going to be focusing in on after-school meals, of course. As Allie mentioned, we're going to be starting with some of the basics of after-school meals, just a few quick slides to make sure that we've given you a basic overview of how the program works, why we're focusing on it so much, meal pattern requirements, eligibility, all of that good stuff. And then probably the more exciting part is the After School Meals in Action section of the presentation today. You'll be hearing from a couple of organizations that are already serving after school meals. They can share a little bit about their experience, how they've made the program work really well for their programs, how it's benefiting the kids in their care. So really looking forward to that part. But to start us off at the very beginning, we should clarify exactly what the After School Meals program is. So when we're talking about after school meals, we're really talking about a specific piece of a broader program called the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP. CACFP provides funding for healthy meals and snacks served in a variety of different daycare settings, including eligible after-school programs. And the after-school piece of CACFP is called the at-risk after-school snack and supper component of CACFP. So you can see why, for most purposes, we're just going to call it after-school meals, but want to make sure that you know that this is part of that child and adult care food program. If you apply for the program and participate in it, you're going to see that acronym CACFP a whole lot. So know that that's what we're talking about. CACFP is a federally funded nutrition assistance program. It's administered at the federal level by the USDA. And in our state, the New York State Department of Health administers CACFP locally. So why focus on after-school meals? I think you all are well aware that providing meals and snacks after school is essential for supporting academic recovery this year more than most. It's a great way to make sure that kids are fully focused and engaged and able to learn in all of the wonderful enrichment programming that you're providing. It's also a great way to alleviate food insecurity. We know that families are facing a hunger cliff this school year. Many families lost access to free school meals. We're all facing higher costs at the grocery store. Various pandemic-related supports have expired. And so families are in a really tough spot. We know that at least 1 in 7 New York kids are experiencing food insecurity that's disproportionately impacting Black and Latino children. And so after school meals is a great way to make sure that at least during the school year, kids are eating 3 meals a day, and you can be sure that they have the nutrition that they need to learn and thrive. After school meals is also under-tapped. There's a ton of opportunity for growth in this program in New York State. So looking at pre-pandemic, the last sort of normal point in time for data collection, out of every 100 low-income kids in New York who eat free or reduced price school lunch, only about 6 of those kids have access to an after-school meal through CACFP. So we know that there's room to reach many, many more kids in New York State with this program. Another reason to consider after-school meals this year, even if you haven't necessarily considered it in the past, that the reimbursement rates for programs are higher than ever. There's always an annual adjustment of those reimbursement rates for cost of living. So that was quite substantial this year. But on top of that, in late June, Congress passed the Keep Kids Fed Act, which included an additional boost in CACFP reimbursement rates. So those rates are higher this year. It may be more financially feasible for your programs to participate, and we'll share those specific rates for this year. The last thing I wanted to highlight here in this little did you know box on the side is just a finding from an After School Alliance report, their America After 3 p.m. report. And they surveyed parents on a variety of factors that they take into consideration when they're selecting an after school program for their child. And they found that 71% of surveyed low-income families reported that having the healthy after school meals and snacks as part of the program was very important to them when they were selecting a program for their child. So something to keep in mind. So how does the program work? At its core, CACFP is a reimbursement-based program. It's not an upfront grant, so please do keep that in consideration as you're planning your operations. When a program applies for CACFP and is approved, they serve healthy meals and snacks for the kids in their care. This can look different depending on the program. You may contract with a food vendor that provides meals and snacks that are ready to go. You may self-prep if you have a kitchen that's appropriate for that. Maybe you work with your school district to get those meals and snacks. But in any event, you're serving healthy meals and snacks for kids that meet the nutrition requirements of the program. And then each month, you're submitting a count of how many meals were prepared, how many meals were served, and you receive a reimbursement based on those meal counts. For this school year, the reimbursement rates are $4.03 per meal or $1.18 per snack. So again, a pretty substantial reimbursement as far as federal nutrition programs go. And it really adds up. So you can see we have some examples down here of an after school program with 50 students in it, 180 days a year. You could be looking at, $36,000 in reimbursement just for serving meals. You could serve both meals and snacks and increase that reimbursement even further, provide even more nutrition for kids in your care. There are meal patterns that programs follow in order to qualify for reimbursement for their meals and snacks. So we want to make sure that kids are getting everything that they need. And so there's a pretty basic, no big surprises here, nutrition requirements. So for a meal, you need to provide a grain, meat or meat alternate, vegetable, and either a second vegetable or fruit, along with fluid milk. So we have an example up on the slide of a reimbursable meal. Could be something like a grilled chicken sandwich on a whole grain bun with carrot sticks, an apple, and 1% milk. For a snack, you need to provide 2 of those food components. So in this example, we have hummus as a meat or meat alternate and cucumber slices as a vegetable. So just taking 2 of those meal components, serving it with water if milk is not one of those components. We're not going to get too far into the weeds of the meal pattern requirements today, unless anybody has any specific questions, but I did include a link on this slide, and you'll be getting all of these slides where you can find some sample menus and some more information about exactly what meal or snack would need to include for CACFP. In order to qualify for the program, there's a handful of requirements. The big one is that the after-school program needs to be located in an eligible low-income area. And that is defined as being located within the enrollment area of a school where 50% or more of the students qualify for free or reduced price school meals. I do have an asterisk at the end of this bullet point because there is another option for participating if the school doesn't meet that requirement. So don't rule yourselves out. If you don't meet that first requirement, we can help you think through whether you might still be able to participate. But by and large, for after school meals, you're going to be looking for that 50% free or reduced price rate at the local school building. The program needs to provide at least one educational or enrichment activity. This could be a very formal program like a 21st Century or an Advantage or Empire State program, or it could be something a little less formal like after school tutoring or a drama club. There's a pretty good variety of activities that would count for that requirement. It does need to be an after school program, so organized to provide non-residential care for children either after school or other times when schools are closed during the regular school year. And then be public or nonprofit, or some for-profits can qualify if they're associated with a child care center that meets a certain requirement. The big takeaway that I want to share on this slide is that you don't need to navigate whether you're eligible or not on your own. We are here to help you. We know that school meals data is a little bit challenging right now. It's been a couple of years since most schools have been collecting that data. And so we have a list of schools that meet the requirement as of 2 years ago and would be able to participate this year, but we can also help you navigate that. If you reach out to either Allie or I, we're always happy to walk through the eligibility requirements and see if your program can participate. If you are indeed eligible and you are ready to apply, the contact would be the New York State Department of Health. Again, they're the folks that administer this program in our state. So we have their contact information on here. You can either email them or call them to get started with an application. This typically starts just with a conversation. They want to know a little bit about your program, how you're going to operate, and then they would send you the appropriate application forms depending on how your program is set up. You could also apply start an application, I should say, through the Department of Health's online pre-screening tool that we have linked on this slide. This just lets you sort of walk through the eligibility requirements and then provide your contact information, and they'll reach out to you from there to start an application. You can apply at any time of year, even after your programs are already underway. So it doesn't matter that it's October. You can apply in October, in December, over the summer, whenever it works for your program. And then if you're not quite ready to apply, but you just want to learn more and you want to get some more information, make sure that this is a good fit for you, please do reach out to us. We're happy to talk with you one-on-one. You can also learn more on our website, afterschoolmealsny.org, which Ali also put in the chat for you all. So I think that's enough from me for now. I'm going to turn it over to one of our wonderful speakers today. We're so delighted to be joined by Linda Zurak from the Mental Health Association in Fulton and Montgomery counties. And Linda's going to start off by telling us just a little bit about her experience with CACFP, any words of wisdom that she has for you all, and how they've been able to operate the program. So Linda, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So I've been with mental health for about 17 years, and we've been working with CACFP close to that. A little scary in the beginning when we started because of the paperwork, but very nice to talk to, work with. They're very helpful. So we have 4 programs. We have 3 after-school programs in Fulton County, and that is where we do the what we call the dinners. And we run 3 hours right after school. So from usually 2:30 to 5:30. We do contract with the vendor that makes all the meals, delivers them. And roughly, I think the children, students eat around 3 o'clock, 3:15. Plenty of time. They get maybe half an hour to eat, and then we go on off to our activities or whatever else we have going on that day. Our Montgomery County program, we do just the PM snack. So like you said, we only have to serve 2 components in that category. Not every kid takes a snack or takes the meal. We encourage it so that they can, try new and different things, especially your vegetables. For us, it works great. I want to say one of our programs, we get close to 80 students, and the other 2 are roughly 50 each. The Montgomery County, right now, it's a little low because of staffing issues, but I want to say they probably average about maybe 30 PM snacks a day. So basically what the staff does is they make sure that their hands are washed. They give them the necessary component to whatever we're serving, either the dinners or the PM snacks. And right on the sign-in sheet, when the kids come in, we have a column, did they take a snack or not? So basically, if they take a snack, it's just a check mark. And then once a week, the staff hand me all the paperwork for every day. And I keep track of how many meals or PM snacks are given on every single day. And then at the end of each month, I basically just tally everything up, and it's electronic, your vouchering. They'll set you all up quite easily, actually. So every month, that's what I do. I go into the system, I voucher for all the meals that we had served. We really, where we're located, we don't have a lot of people that can serve or deliver, prepare or deliver the meals. So we do have one vendor who does Meals on Wheels. So that worked for us as long as they were doing the Meals on Wheels for like seniors. We kind of piggybacked right on with them. It has worked out for years now. That's kind of what the gist of everything is that. If I forgot anything, just ask me a question, Krista.
Go ahead.
Very easy. I have to do audits 3 times a year, but they supply the paperwork. I just have to go and make sure like our refrigerator temperatures are accurate. The staff are giving all 5 components or the 2 components for the PM snacks. Because to be reimbursed, they have to take the whole component. If they only take one item, then it doesn't count. So we encourage the kids to take everything. If there's extra and they're sitting at a table and one student doesn't want their milk, we make them push it forward. And before the kids are dismissed, if a child there wants it, we let them have it, you know. For us, it works out quite well. It's been doing it for quite a while. So for us, it's easy. I can do it with our eyes closed.
That was really great and helpful, Linda. Thank you for sharing all of that. Do you find that there's, a particular types of meals or snacks that the kids really like? We often get questions about, planning.
Well, yeah, most of the time the kids aren't going to like it, but they really do. They want, ice cream for their PM snack, or, like carrots with hell of a good dip. Well, we can give them carrots, but we have to give them hummus or something nutritious like that. For the most part, though, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They take everything. They try things. They're really good. I can't complain. We do give fruit, in our PM snack down in Fonda, we can do bananas one day or oranges. So we kind of mix it up too, so that they do get a variety. But for the most part, now they take everything.
That's great. I don't know if anybody else has any questions for Linda. I'm going to stop the screen share so we can sort of see each other maybe a little bit better. We also had some questions that came in ahead of the webinar that we can take, but I just want to give a minute if anybody has any questions for Linda.
I actually do have a question. Can you hear me? What do you do with students with allergies? Is there some survey that goes out for that?
Well, on our enrollment form, parents usually will put what allergies that is. And then what we do is when we call in our numbers, we first started calling in our numbers to the vendor at say 10 o'clock in the morning. That gave them time to prep. And now we would tell them, hey, we have a peanut allergy here. So what they do is they would make something else and they would mark it, just the initials PJ or something to that effect. So we knew that that one particular bag had to go to that student.
And I'm sorry, I'm in a school. Just to follow up on that question. So your list, it's a constant roster of students, or does it change?
It will change. Some kids will come and go. For the most part, they enroll, late August. So we know how many students we got coming after school, from school. That first week, it's probably hit or miss by 5 meals, just because we want to make sure we have enough. So we'll order 5 more. And then it kind of levels out to where we know every single week how many kids are going to be there. I don't believe that the staff now call the meals in every day, because we kind of basically know, Kingsborough has 80 kids. So that's how many meals come every day. Fridays are a little bit less. During the week, they kind of scale down a little bit. And by Friday, kids really don't want to stay at the after school program. So, but we know that, we know that ahead of time. Yep.
And I'll just note, as a sort of general statement, the CACFP meal patterns are pretty flexible.
Oh, yeah.
You do need to provide those specific meal components, the vegetable, the fruit, the grain, but within that, there's a lot of flexibility, and you can accommodate children with allergies or other dietary restrictions. And so there's a good amount of flexibility there. And the folks at the Department of Health, I mean, Linda, you mentioned that they're wonderful to work with.
They are.
They've been really helpful
Yes.
for you.
Yep. And we do a menu, the vendor gives us a menu every month. I review it to make sure everything's on there. It looks good. If I'm not sure, I'll scan it over to them and they'll say, yes, approved, or no, you don't have a 1% milk on this particular day. It's just more eyes looking at it and deciding that, yes, this is appropriate. And it really, it's a wide variety of food for us, our vendors, you know, because they're doing the senior meals. So they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. So they take good care of us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really innovative arrangement to work with. It was the ARC, right? The Lexington.
Yeah, Lexington.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And it's hard, you know, to find somebody, like I think we talked on the phone, that that can deliver that many meals and have a delivery truck and prep all this, you know. And we work well with them. And I just want to touch base on, I think I told you on the phone, that with the colder months coming and approaching, we try to offer once a week or once every 2 weeks a nice hot meal for these kids. And then, you know, like in the warmer months, it's a wrap, a sandwich, you know, something to that effect.
So for those of you who are have school-based programs, I would encourage you to, as a first point of contact for preparing meals and snacks, think about working with your school district. It doesn't always work out, but that's a good first point of contact. They know the child nutrition program inside out and backwards. They do it all day. And a lot of the time, those school food directors can incorporate after school meals and snacks preparation into their preparation of breakfast and lunch earlier in the day. So that's often a good fit. But I do think that considering these other types of vendors is really a good strategy. Not all areas, especially rural parts of the state, have access to traditional food vendors that you might have in a city. So I think this is a really good experience to hear about. If anybody needs help sort of figuring out the best arrangement, that's another thing that we're always happy to work with folks on. Any other questions for Linda?
I have been receiving some other questions in the chat. If you do have questions, you can continue to add them to the chat or unmute at any time. And we'll start going through some of those and what we received with registration as well. So I have a couple of questions about eligibility first. How do we know if a program is eligible, and are charter schools eligible as well?
So charter schools can be eligible, yes. And I'm gonna grab the most recent list. You're gonna see that it's 2020, but it is still the most recent list of schools that meet. Oh, yep, Allie's got it. Of schools that meet the eligibility requirement of that 50%. I will say, you know, it's possible that more schools could meet the 50% requirement over the last couple of years compared to who's on the list. So if you don't see your school on the list and you're still, you know, you sort of suspect that maybe they're over 50%, or maybe you know they've gone over 50% over the last couple of years, feel free to reach out to me and I can do a little bit of digging and see what the updated number is. But for the most part, if you see your school, your local school building on this list, you would meet that eligibility requirement for after school. And then Kyle, I see, has a question, a more specific eligibility question about the requirement for for-profits. So basically a for-profit program would need to be affiliated with a child care center where at least 25% of the students qualify for tuition subsidies or free or reduced price meals. So that might be something, you know, we could talk with you one-on-one about if you're not sure, you know, sort of in the weeds. But well, Kyle, did you want to follow up?
Yeah, we're school-based programs, so would that affiliation with the school be meet those requirements, assuming that we hit the 25%?
So generally eligibility would be based on whoever's operating the program and not, you know, whether it's based in the school or not.
Oh,
it would be based on your organization. But it sounds like a little bit of a unique situation. So maybe if you want to reach out, okay, we can dig a little bit more into whether you'd meet that requirement.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, and keep the questions coming. We also got questions about feeding. So if there can be off-site feeding, or if programs can feed students who are not enrolled in the program.
So right now, the answer is no. There were temporary waivers that were put into place during the pandemic that allowed some flexibility. So you could send meals home. There's a little bit more flexibility, a lot more flexibility on the school meals side. So schools could send meals home to kids, whether they were enrolled in the school or not. But those waivers did expire at the end of last school year, some of them even earlier than that. And so right now, for the after school meals program, meals would need to be served on site as part of the program to kids who are enrolled in attending your program. But I will say, shameless plug, that there are other nutrition assistance programs available for children and families that we would absolutely love for you to help promote or to participate in, including helping families hear about programs like SNAP and WIC if they're eligible. There's also the summer meals program for making sure kids have food over the summer. So if any or all of that is interesting to you, please reach out to me and I'm happy to share more about those as well.
Thanks, Krista. The next question is there a minimum number of students required to participate?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Nope.
And then is there a specific list of approved snacks, things like crackers and chips that can be used for snacks?
Yes, they CACFP has a book that they send to you in the guidelines. So you would just pick something out of that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find it real quick. Don't be scared of it. It's a really hefty book, right?
It is.
But if you're looking for,
Yeah.
just tell me what I can do here. This does have lists of foods that you can serve that would meet the CACFP requirements. I'm going to pop that in the chat in a minute here.
Wonderful. And then the next question is there a way to get meals to adults?
There is an adult program, I do believe, through CACFP. We deal with students, so I'm sure that the guidelines have got to be similar, I would think, but.
Yeah, so CACFP does have a component for adult daycare programs specifically. So that is a pretty, narrow definition, right? You'd be talking about adults with disabilities who are in non-residential daycare programs. So if anybody on the line has that type of programming that's, run through your organization, you're welcome to reach out and we can share more about that. I would say for, the general population, for parents, I would really encourage you to share information about the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. That's a really great resource for making sure families have the resources that they need at home. Same thing for WIC, and I'll add a couple of links in the chat here. And of course, if you're looking to distribute actual food items, a good option would be to reach out to your local food bank and see if there's some partnership that could happen there, whether it's outreach or literal food distributions.
Great. And then the next question here, and I think that clarified some. Can we appeal the waiver for students to take meals home, particularly for students in temporary housing and homeless shelters, which is 40% of our school's enrollment, and our after school program is over enrolled?
I would say for I'm just seeing this now. All right, let me wrap my head around this. Students in temporary housing. Technically an after school program could submit a sponsor level waiver to try and get an exception for some of these. I don't know that would be successful. You could submit the request, but I wouldn't be necessarily optimistic that you could waive the federal requirement this school year. If you want to reach out to me, I can share a little bit more about that process and sort of my thinking on that. And then also, you know, when it comes to students in shelters, reach out to me and we can talk more offline. I think we just have another few minutes here, but I'd love to talk more with you about that. And then also about eligibility for WIC and SNAP and how you can help immigrant families as well.
Thank you. And please keep the questions coming. We do have a few more minutes. If there are additional questions, you're welcome to come off mute or enter into the chat box, anything you'd like, or send it directly to me. We did have another question at registration about whether it was required for after-school programs to have a license in order to participate in CACFP.
So CACFP defers to the state's normal licensing requirements for after-school programs. So some types of school age care need to be licensed, or I should say registered, and others do not. Most do. But if you operate a drop-in program, if you operate a program that only serves teenagers over 13, if you operate a program that has a really fairly narrow focus with just one type of activity, or if it's a school operated program, not just located, but a school run program. Those are some examples of programs that might not need a school age childcare registration. But CACFP doesn't require anything above and beyond what the state would already require for a school age program. So if you have already worked with the Office of Children and Family Services, maybe with our friends at Network for Youth Success, and have determined that your program needs a registration, then you do need that to participate in CACFP. If you do not need a registration, then you do not need a registration for CACFP either. So it's whatever is otherwise required for your program.
And I see this question, can this include a Saturday program run at the school?
Yeah, so as long as the program meets all the other requirements for CACFP, you could do a weekend program. It does need to, you know, meet all of the other requirements. It needs to provide some enrichment. It needs to be in an eligible location. It needs to, if it requires a registration, be registered. But yes, weekend meals are an option through CACFP, which is a great thing to keep in mind.
Right. We do have, we can stay on another 5 minutes if there are any other questions that folks have. And if not, I have put in the contact information for us in the website, and I'll re-enter that now. But do please add any additional questions if they come up for you. Use the contact information again.
And yes, I do see somebody's asking if we can share the slides. We're definitely going to share the slides afterwards, so you'll have access to all the links that we shared. And I just want to take a minute to thank Linda so much for being here with us. You're fantastic, such a great resource, 17 years of experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much for being with us. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. If there is anything that we can help you with, if questions come up for you afterwards, please do reach out to me and Krista, and we will help navigate that for you and hopefully get you enrolled and participating in CACFP. We will again follow up with the slides. And we'll share the recording of this conversation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.